Once I realized the influence that I have and that people were listening, I just couldn't stop.
I knew her father, and I tell you, she's got good genes, that I can tell you. Good genes for everything.
Kim K helping to get Alice Johnson pardoned. I think that's great. No?
Why does she seem to profit off of everybody else's culture but her own? She's Armenian. Why doesn't she? Y'all Kim K stans only ever seem to bring up the fact that she's Armenian when we call her out.
Samuel L. Jackson really tried to tell us about Kim Kardashian, but no one listened. Years ago, when Sam criticized Kim's prison reform work, people accused him of being a hater. But here we are in June 2026, and it turns out Sam was right about everything. Because Kim's whole, "I'm going to be a lawyer and save the world" thing, that's looking real dusty right now. First, she failed the bar exam, and now she's claiming she's taking a break from studying. The next time she can even try again is 2027. That is, if she doesn't find another excuse by then. But this is not just about Kim being lazy and cosplaying a law student. Her whole prison reform story is much darker than that. Remember the Ivan Cantu situation? Kim went on her platforms and basically named an innocent man as a death row inmate. He sued her, lost, and now he owes her $145,000 in legal fees. So Kim is out here getting paid for misidentifying an innocent person. But it looks like now, in 2026, people are finally waking up. However, they should have listened to Samuel L. Jackson because he saw through this before anyone else. Let me show you what exactly he said. This happened back in 2018, shortly after Kim got Alice Johnson out of prison. Kim was on the cover of everything. She was being called a civil rights icon by people who clearly need to look up what that word actually means. And she did it all by partnering with Donald Trump, the same Trump who called Black Lives Matter a symbol of hate. But Kim still sat in the Oval Office with Trump, smiled for the cameras, and the media ate it up. However, Samuel L. Jackson saw right through it. During one interview segment, he was asked if he thought what Kim was doing with Trump and prison reform was incredible or unbearable, and he literally refused to answer. He just sat there looking disgusted.
Can we play a quick game? Incredible or unbearable? Let's see.
Incredible or unbearable?
Kim K helping to get Alice Johnson pardoned. I think that's great. No?
Samuel knew what was up. He didn't even have to say a word, but he said everything. The message was clear. I'm not co-signing this mess. But people didn't listen, and they kept praising Kim for her so-called activism. However, fast forward to 2026, and Sam was right about all of it. So let's break down exactly why he gave that side eye. Let's start with the Trump partnership. That alone should have been a huge red flag. Kim K, who claims to be this champion for Black and brown people trapped in the criminal justice system, decided her best move was to buddy up with Trump, the same guy who built his political career on racism, the same guy who called for the wrongfully convicted Central Park 5 to be executed. But here's the thing, this wasn't even a principled partnership between Kim and Trump. It was transactional. According to journalist Jonathan Karl's book, Tired of Winning, Trump told Kim he'd grant more commutations if she used her celebrity to get football stars to visit the White House. And she tried to make it happen, but every player she approached said no. Now we also have to talk about the Alice Johnson case. Everyone tried to paint this as some great injustice that Kim fixed, but let's be real. Alice Johnson was guilty. She wasn't some small-time dealer who made one mistake. She was the leader of a multi-million-dollar ring that dealt in tons of nose candy. The judge at her sentencing called Alice the quintessential entrepreneur of the criminal ring and said that the impact on her own community was very significant. And yes, maybe her sentence was too strict. That's a legitimate criticism of the system. But Kim didn't free an innocent person. I mean, there's a reason even Obama didn't want to grant Alice Johnson clemency when he pardoned over 200 other inmates in 2016. And here's where it gets even messier. Once Alice got out, she didn't become an advocate for justice reform. She became a Trumpy. And then, in February 2025, Trump appointed Alice as his official pardon czar.
I fell in love with this man, with his heart for this country, with his heart to really bring America back to the form of greatness that it deserved. And that's exactly what he has done. My story is truly a Joseph story. This president right here, President Donald Trump, brought me from the prison pit to the White House.
So now Alice Johnson works in Trump's White House, identifying which inmates get pardons. The woman Kim freed is now a Trump administration official. The optics are literally insane. But there are some other issues with Kim's prison reform work that I want to touch on. First of all, she literally hijacked the work of people who've been doing this work for decades, and she made it all about her. And then she quit the bar exam. After 6 years of this law journey, telling everyone she was going to be a lawyer, the media treating her like some kind of legal prodigy, and And when it actually came time to pass the bar, she failed, and then she quit. And like I said, Sam Jackson saw this coming. He saw a white woman using black suffering as a prop. He knew Kim was in it for the image, not the justice, and that's why he refused to co-sign it. Alright, so now we get to the really uncomfortable part of this whole mess, the cultural appropriation and blackfishing. Because you can't separate Kim's activism from the fact that she's built her entire empire off profiting from black aesthetics while never having to actually be black. Professor Meredith Jones from Brunel University did a whole study on this. She argues that Kim spent years playing with racial hybridity and adopting black embodiments, including hairstyles, fuller lips, and larger butts. That's her words. Kim has been using her whiteness and wealth to play with what Jones calls racial mobility. Basically, she can put on blackness when it's trendy and profitable, and then take it off whenever she wants. Think about it. Kim has been accused of blackfishing her entire career. The braids, the cornrows, lip filler, grills, BBLs, spray tans. She's been cosplaying as a woman of color for decades, all while being a white woman who can step out of that cosplay whenever it stops being convenient. And for anyone who wants to hit me with the, but Kim's Armenian, she's not white, you clearly don't understand how race works in America. Race is not biology. It never has been. It's a social construct, and the boundaries of who counts as white have shifted constantly depending on whatever was politically convenient at the time. I mean, the Irish and Italians weren't considered white when they first showed up. Then suddenly they were. As for Armenians, the US government literally changed their race based on whatever was convenient at the moment. And to this day, the census can't decide. Sometimes they're white, sometimes they're Middle Eastern. So when people say Armenians aren't white, they're missing the point. Being white in America isn't about geography or genetics. It's about who gets to access white privilege. And Kim Kardashian, a billionaire who has never experienced a day of systemic racism in her life, absolutely benefits from that whiteness. She profits off of black aesthetics without any of the consequences of actually being black. She gets the cool factor, but she never has to deal with any of the issues black women face. But it's not just about looks. It's also about Kim's track record of using black men throughout her career. There's even a name for it, the Kardashian curse. Let's start with Ray J. Ray has been saying for years that Kim and Kris knew exactly what they were doing with that tape. He even filed a lawsuit against them, claiming they spent 2 decades peddling the false story that the tape was leaked against Kim's will. Then, in 2023, Kim and Kris paid Ray $6 million to sign a formal contract to never talk about it again. And this was signed by both families. But then Kim immediately violated it by talking about the tape on her show. So now Ray is suing them again, and he even alleged that Kim and Kris might be involved in some serious federal crimes.
Federal RICO though, on KK and Kris. Ooh, the federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy.
And then there's Kanye. Before him, Kim was a punchline. No one in the fashion world took her seriously. She was Paris Hilton's friend with a private tape. But then Kanye came along, dressed her, styled her, gave her fashion credibility, literally elevated her from reality TV trash to Vogue covers. Say what you want about Kanye, but Kim used his cultural capital to build her empire. But when he had a mental health crisis and became a liability, she immediately threw him under the bus and walked away with all the status he gave her. And Kylie Jenner kind of did the same thing with Travis. She also spent years blackfishing like Kim. She got involved with multiple rappers and then had a baby with Travis. But now she's dating Timothée Chalamet and she did a whole trad wife rebrand. Meanwhile, she's still using her mixed-race children as fashion accessories. And this has always been a pattern with Kardashian women. Look at Kendall and her cornrows back when she was dating black NBA players. Then, during her Bad Bunny era, she was cosplaying a Mexican woman to promote her tequila brand. And now that she's dating Jacob Elordi, she's back to the old money, quiet luxury look. Kardashians date black men for status. They have mixed-race children and use them as accessories. They profit off black aesthetics. And when the relationship becomes inconvenient or the man becomes a liability, they discard him and decide they want to be white again. So you see how crazy it is for Kim K to become the face of prison reform and position herself as a savior for black people trapped in the justice system? That may have worked during Trump's first term, but now in 2026, all the receipts are out and Kim's empire is crumbling. Samuel L. Jackson tried to warn us, and we should have listened. But let me know your thoughts on all this. What's your take on Kim's prison reform work? And do you think the Kardashian era is finally over? Drop your comments below and stay tuned for the next video.